Hey y'all, I'm KC with The Element, and today I'm going to show you how to choose and shoot a hunting bow. So one of the first things that we need to cover is what is a hunting bow. Okay, there's a lot of different types of bows out there. You might hear bows and arrows, but really it's just a bow, okay? You have traditional style archery, you have target archery, and then you have compound archery, which this is a compound bow. We'll only really talk about these today. So there's a couple things you need to consider when choosing a bow. You need to find a bow that's comfortable to you, that feels good in your hand, and that is the correct draw length for you to hunt with. So the draw length is actually the distance from this handle to where you anchor the bow back here, okay? You can't have it too long or too short or you won't be accurate at all. One of the things with bows that you'll find is that brand new bows are expensive as all get out, and it's really a big barrier to entry into archery hunting, okay? So what I like to suggest to people is to go find a bow like this that's maybe 2-3 years old, and find a way to purchase that used. And sometimes you can even go to your local archery shop, your pro shop, and find used bows that are high quality and have been inspected to make sure they're safe. Also, you can look on Facebook and all those other places and find a used bow, but don't go too far old or too far back, because then you really kind of start losing some of the nice things about modern technology. So in my mind, there are 4 main components to what actually makes a bow to where you can hunt with it, okay? You've got the bow. You're going to have a sight, you're going to have a release aid, and you're going to have an arrow. Now I realize there are a lot of other things going on here with this bow. We'll cover more of that stuff later, but for now we're going to concentrate on those 4 so that you get a really good grasp of what it takes to be able to hunt and kill a deer to eat. So you got to make sure to preserve that moisture. So first things first, let's talk about the part that's connected to me. This is what you call a release or a release aid. There's many different styles. Some are handheld. A lot of them are wrist slings like this one is. There's pretty much a trigger mechanism, okay? You have a trigger here and a way to connect to the bowstring here. You pull the trigger, the bow goes off. This is what you call a hook style release made by Cobra. I really like this one a lot because it's real easy to connect to the bow. The next thing we're going to talk about is the bow itself. This is a Matthews Triax. It was kind of their flagship around 2017 or 18, something like that. Really good, smooth shooting bow, very fast, but it's kind of short this direction, so it's not real forgiving. If you're new to this, you might look for something that's a little bit longer, what they call axle to axle. So that's going to be from each wheel on each end. They call these cams, okay? This is kind of a heavier bow, so it's not really easy to tote around with you, especially in the backcountry or if you're going on long trips, but it's very stable because that extra weight makes it hold better in the wind and all the rain like we're having today and all the other weather and crazy things you run into out in the wild. Now I will say this is a very good looking bow in my opinion. That doesn't always matter, but to some people it does, because let's face it, we all like to be cool, right? This bow's kind of cool. I like it. I like the way that it's designed on the riser here. That's the middle part of the bow. The limbs, which are these, are camouflage. That's that sick whitetail camo on there. Makes it look real neat. You can even buy colored strings and components to really make it your own if you'd like to. So another thing that's connected to the bow is the sight, okay? That's this thing right here. That's what you're gonna line your eye up with to make the arrow go where you want to, okay? There's many different types. This is what you call a single pin adjustable. It might be too much information for you, but what we're looking at is making sure that we have something out there that we can line up with our target and release to make our arrow go where we want it to. Now I'm going to suggest something to you, and that suggestion is to not do what I have here, okay? I have been hunting for a long time, and I've decided this is what I like. But I started out with something different because I felt more comfortable with it. I started out with what you call a 3-pin non-adjustable sight. So what that means is I have 3 pins out here as opposed to this single that's in my sight picture here, and they go 20, 30, and 40. So 20 yards, 30 yards, and 40 yards, and they're fixed. And you move your bow up and down accordingly depending on how far your target is. Now, let's talk about the projectile. This is what you hunt with. That is a broadhead on the end of an arrow. This is what you shoot targets with. That's what you call a field point on the end of the arrow. I have a broadhead target. That means I can actually use broadheads to practice with as well. I'll shoot both today to show you the difference. Really, there shouldn't be any difference. That's kind of the idea behind it, but we'll get to that later. Now, I like to hunt with a heavy arrow, okay? I've been through the gamut. I've shot light, I've shot heavy, and this is where I've landed. These are day 6 arrows. They're 11.2 grains per inch, which means it's real heavy from there to there compared to other arrows. I feel like it makes me much more lethal because it might be traveling a little bit slower, but it really helps my bow to shoot more accurately, and it also really helps with penetration and being lethal when it comes to actually hitting what you're trying to kill. There's a few things that we really need to consider when it comes to shooting your hunting bow, but first let's talk about the scenario that we're in. I've got a target set down here downrange about 20 yards away, and I'm very sure that there's nothing behind that target that could be dangerous or a safety concern for any other people or pets or animals that may or may not be out of season right now, okay? So what I've got is a target set at 20 yards, okay? Let's talk about what that means. 20 yards is a very common hunting distance, all right? In fact, it's what I have my pin set at right now, and if you have a 3-pin, you're gonna set your top pin most likely at 20 yards. Never feel bad about not taking a distance shot, okay? In fact, I would suggest or encourage you to set up most of your shots for around 20 yards or in, especially as a new hunter, okay? You don't want to be challenging yourself or giving yourself more variables and more ways to have an animal mess things up for you. You want to make it to where you have good success your first go around. So we're going to shoot a little bit now, okay guys? So I'm going to take my arrow, I'm going to place it on my string. This is called a D-loop. Place it between the D-loop. This is my arrow rest. I'm going to engage that. Now, we need to talk about a few things. We need to talk about holding your bow, okay? You don't want to death grip this thing, all right? It's not a chicken that you're trying to choke down, okay? It's not a snake that you're trying to keep from biting you. It is a bow and arrow, okay? It does not respond well to heavy movements or to strong grips, all right? You also don't want to let go of it because it'll fall right out of your hands. So I like to suggest to people, imagine that you're touching your fingers, making an okay sign, okay? You can adjust this some later once you get comfortable shooting, and I will because I actually don't do that, but for time's sake, for right now, I'll do the okay style shot, okay? You're gonna take your hand, place it around the grip on your bow, and hold it out. Feels pretty comfortable, right? Feels pretty good, okay? So you're gonna grip your bow, but not too tightly. What you want to make sure of as you draw your bow, that you're not canting your bow side to side or back and forth, because it's really going to affect your accuracy. You want your arrow pointed at the target. So we're going to draw. Remember we talked about a release? This is that hook style release made by Cobra. We're going to put that through the D-loop, and now we're ready to draw this bow. Now, you see a lot of people do all this kind of stuff right here, okay? If you have to do that to draw your bow, you've got your draw weight set too high. You're pulling too much weight back. So make sure it's at an easy level for you to be able to grip your bow, get it pointed towards your target, and draw back with ease, okay? Now, next step, when you talk about aiming, all right, I have a peep sight on my bow. You're gonna wanna have one of those too. It's right here by my eyeball, and I need to form an anchor point, okay? So for me, my anchor point is my thumb under my jaw, my nose on the string, okay? I do those two things. I don't put my finger in front of my trigger on my release until I'm ready to shoot. Find my target, slowly squeeze the trigger, okay? It's very essential that you don't go and jam this trigger, because who knows where your arrow is gonna go. It's just like shooting a rifle. You wanna squeeze it off until you have a surprise release, is what they call it, when the bow goes off without you telling it to. Something that we really do need to cover is the aiming portion. We're gonna need to get a little bit more detailed with that, okay? So, like I said, this is a peep sight. You're going to line your eye up within that peep sight and then line that up with this, what's called a scope. It's the housing of the sight. They're both round and they'll line up. That's what's going to make you accurate. If they're not lined up, it might look like your sight, your pin is on your target, but actually your arrow is pointed right or left of your target and you won't have an accurate shot. So we're gonna draw our bow, find our anchor point, prepare to shoot, put our finger on the trigger, line everything up, and squeeze off. dead deer. So it's actually a lot of fun once you get used to shooting your bow. Now, it might make you nervous at first, and 20 yards is actually a pretty far shot if you're a brand new archer. Don't feel bad about stepping right up to that thing and practicing these steps, knowing that you're going to hit the target. It's going to build some confidence. You're not going to lose any arrows, or at least not near as many that way, and you can slowly move back as you become more comfortable. So part 4B of what it takes to actually shoot an arrow is going to be your arrow rest. I didn't include it a while ago. I probably should have, but your arrow rest is really one of the important things that helps your arrow go to the direction you're pointing it. I'm going to suggest 2 different types of arrow rests, okay? There's the type I have here, which is what's called a fall away, that you engage with your thumb, and then whenever the bow goes off, that goes down and gets out of the way of the arrow. Another type is what's called a whisker biscuit, okay? So it's a bunch of little prongy plastic thingies that hold your arrow in place, and then your fletchings, which are these things right here, pass right through it as you shoot. It's kind of a fail-safe, but there are some scenarios that it kind of gets in the way and it slows your arrow down a little bit. So I've opted for a fall away type arrow rest. We need to talk about the different projectile points, okay? That right there is a field point. The idea is for these broadheads to hit in the same place as that field point. That doesn't always happen, okay? There's this thing called tuning. That's where you really probably need to talk to a pro shop. If you strap these broadheads on and shoot them and they don't go anywhere near where your field points are going, you probably have either got some issue in your grip, in your release, or in the tuning of your bow, okay? If you have that happen, go and see a pro shop and get somebody to help you out. A reputable pro shop. Don't just go to some guy down the street who's got a shop in his backyard, okay? Now, there are really awesome guys who do that, but in general, go to a really nice reputable pro shop and they'll be able to help you out and point you in the right direction. So I'm gonna shoot my field point here, and then I'm gonna shoot a broadhead and see if they both have a similar impact. Disclaimer, don't ever shoot a broadhead that you've shot at a target at an animal unless you've sharpened it, because you want to make sure that that thing is good and sharp. That way you can be as lethal as possible when it comes to hunting. So I've got my target set up at 20 yards like I said a while ago. I'm going to shoot this field point right at the brand spanking middle of that yellow circle. Going for in the black here. So I've drawn, my grip is good. Get my anchor points. My finger on the trigger as I find my pretty good. Let's see if the broadhead's feeling good today. This is where it gets dangerous. Not for you or people, but expensive can be the better word. I have a real good shot of actually messing up my arrow here, so hopefully I'm not that good. Little tip, if you are shooting broadheads or field points for what it's worth and you get pretty good at this, choose different spots on the target. In fact, I'm going to shoot at the top right yellow mark of that circle. Good draw, my grip is good, got a good anchor point. Lined everything up. Good shot. My arrow buried up in it because I'm shooting a broadhead, so I can't exactly tell where it hit. So we'll go down here and take a look at it. All right, so this is the field point. This is the broadhead. That's a pretty good group. That means I'm hitting pretty good between the 2 different types of projectiles. I was aiming at this yellow here. I was aiming center with the field point. Now, it might look like I'm pretty good at this, but with a little bit of time, you'll be able to do this at 20 yards, no sweat, guys. So let me leave you with this. This is a fun thing to do. Archery hunting is a blast, all right? But it takes some good practice and it takes some good preparation to feel like that you're gonna be lethal enough to ethically go out and shoot at animals, okay? I wanna encourage you to do that because it's awesome. Go feed your family good, tasty meat. Go kill yourself something that you can be proud of, but make sure you do it the right way. So with that, if you are an experienced archery hunter, you've watched this video and we've left something out, be sure and leave it down there in the comments so that everybody else can learn from you. We're all in this together. We're trying to share with each other and we're trying to learn from each other. So if you like what you saw in this video, hit the subscribe button and remember, this is your element. Live in it.